Hey, what's up guys and gals, my name is Rick9G, thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be looking at the Munsters. Before I start, I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you who have subscribed and joined the Rick9G family. I really appreciate it because the channel has grown really quickly recently, so thank you so much. Today we're going to be looking at the Munsters and more specifically focusing on makeup. What about the makeup is interesting is just the evolution. Now we can't look at every single change that has happened throughout the course of the show because of course the makeup on the show from the pilot all the way to the last episode was very different. There were a lot of changes, but we're going to look at very specific changes that you may not have noticed but were fairly significant, and I think you will enjoy them. Now the pilot episode for the Munsters was of course the first time that we got to see the whole family together and in color, may I add, which was a really unique thing that they tried to do. We look at Eddie Munster, who was not played by the original Butch Patrick, but he's played by Nate Durman. He was credited as Happy Durman. Now in this incarnation you can tell that Eddie is more of a werewolf, kind of hunched over type character that kind of gives a creepy vibe. The producers thought that this wasn't the best thing for the makeup in terms of Eddie Munster, so of course they recasted the part for Butch Patrick, and they decided to give him a more vampire type look with underlying tones of werewolf. Now what do you think? Was this a good change or was this not a good change? In my opinion, I think they did pretty well. Now let's move on to Lily Munster. But those of you who are huge fans will already know that she wasn't originally named Lily Munster. She was named Phoebe Munster, and she was played by a completely different actress. Joan Marshall was the first Phoebe Munster, as in the wife of Herman Munster, and if you look, she has often been compared to the look of Morticia Addams on the Addams Family. They didn't want this type of look, so they decided to change it up a little bit and recast the part, of course, to the beautiful Yvonne DiCarlo, and added more of a vampira type look instead of a goth type look, that she had a disappearing gray streak throughout the series. And I don't know, I think the evolution was pretty good. It rounded out the whole universal monster type genre with Frankenstein and of course Dracula and vampire. Now let's move on to Al Lewis, who of course played Grandpa Munster. Now he was pretty much Count Dracula. His character stayed very similar throughout and the makeup was very similar. However, it did evolve and grow through time. If you'll notice in the pilot and in the first couple episodes, Al Lewis had been fit with a nose extension during this time. However, they decided to drop the nose because of logistical reasons. Lewis, who was a coffee drinker, kept dipping his nose accidentally inside the coffee, which would ruin the prosthetic tip appliance and of course the entire look and makeup. So they thought, it's too cumbersome, let's just take it off and go without it. And that's what they did for the rest of the show. Now Carl Silvera, who did Al Lewis's makeup, was ecstatic to learn that the prosthetic would be gone. He said, "I'll never forget the moment as long as I live. I couldn't believe that they were serious to remove the nose." According to him, someone told him in the front office that they weren't going to use the nose anymore because he looks too Jewish. Very interesting, and I don't know what you guys think about that. Now take a look at his sideburns. In the beginning, again during the pilot and the first couple episodes, you will notice that his sideburns are cut very short. In fact, he doesn't really have much sideburns to begin with, but if we move on to season 2, the latter half of the series, we see that he of course has very long bushy sideburns that he in fact kept as an actor in his everyday life. So it's kind of cool to see that evolution, and I don't know how many of you noticed that. Now this is one that I love, guys and gals, and it has to do with Herman Munster. I was pretty surprised seeing this in the beginning of the show. This was a big inconsistency, and that is Herman Munster's hand hair. The reason why I say hand hair, it is right above his knuckles, going on to his wrist, and that entire area around his fingers. And it's interesting to see episodes where he does have it and then when he doesn't. Then they scrapped the idea later just because it was very impractical to have on him, and it was just easier for him to have just makeup on rather than makeup and prosthetic and fake hair on his arm. In terms of Herman's facial prosthetics and makeup, there were very subtle alterations, like the size of his headpiece. It was a lot thinner in the first couple episodes, and if we move on to season 2, you will see it's a lot wider and thicker. So thank you so much, guys and gals, for watching. I do appreciate your love and support as always. Your positivity and overall support means the world to me. Any negativity is not welcome here, and I do appreciate you guys sticking with the positivity and the uplifting nature of this channel. We'll see you next time, guys and gals. Don't forget to stay positive, always better yourself, and most importantly, be hopeful.